A miracle pill that will replace cancer and will cost just about $100. You must have seen this in news all over last week. The true value of this pill said to be considered nothing less than pure gold for cancer survivors who live with constant fear of all of it happening again. In fact, the Tata Memorial Center in Mumbai claimed to have discovered a cutting-edge nutraceutical that can prevent cancer and even replace it. Also, it claims to reduce the side effects of the treatment like radiation chemotherapy by 50%. But hang on, why am I saying it's a nutraceutical and not a pharmaceutical? And why did we not cover this story, this extremely important development, when it was in papers, on websites all over last week? Why are we covering it today? Because we had some questions. Let's first understand the difference between nutraceutical and pharmaceutical. Nutraceutical are not drugs, but they refer to food or food products that provide health benefits, like for example, you take folic acid or you take cod liver oil capsules, etc. Now, this miracle pill or the news of this spread rapidly, and oncologists all over the country have started receiving calls from patients inquiring about where can I get it, how can I get it, how much will it cost, etc. However, the reality is that the pill is at least 5 to 6 years away from reaching patients. And there is also a chance that it may never reach the patients. Now you will ask why. Now this pill is yet to undergo clinical trials on human beings. So far, the results shared by the doctors at Tata Memorial are encouraging, but they are based only on studies conducted on mice, not humans. And in reality, 90% of positive outcomes from animal trials do not translate into success in human trials. On February 25th, just 2 days after the announcement of the miracle pill, the institute then announced that its researchers had patented the Indian spice-derived sort of nanomedicine showing anti-cancer activity as well. Therefore, what I'm trying to say with this example is that such news is common, as numerous other drugs or products show promise for curing or treating cancer, but they are still in trial or in the development stage. Their release into the market depends on the collection of data regarding their effectiveness in the human body. The rate at which, by the way, unfortunately, is very low in cases of cancer treatment. Now, all of this information, I bet you did not read in these clickbaity headlines that you saw all of last week. And all this information emerges when we deep dive into the story, which the TBC team does. Every time we put out a health story, we call up an expert, we ensure that the doctor has seen the story, we ensure we are not getting anything medically wrong. And then, while we were doing this, questions sort of came in, and we kept coming back to one doctor after the other, all of them raising eyebrows, all of them sort of raising questions within the circles, saying that sanctions would be required for this nutraceutical. Sanctions will be required, again, like I said, for this nutraceutical from a very different body, a body called the FSSAI, or the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. Remember, you must have seen this label on a lot of food items that we sort of see. If my producers can run those sort of pictures on air as well for you to sort of recollect and connect on what exactly is FSSAI, stuff like that, that label that you see on food items. You don't see that label on drugs. This pill at the moment has gone to FSSAI to get their clearance as a food product or as a nutraceutical product. Remember, if they had to get a sanction from a drug body compared, say, like a pharmaceutical clearance, that would involve a much more stringent clearance process that would come from the Central Drugs Standard Control Organization. It's called the CDSCO. So, before you start thinking about whether this drug is bad, does not fulfill its dream, let me just say this. We are not saying that the pill won't work. We are simply saying that we are not sure of the effectiveness on humans, just not yet. And what this premature announcement has done is that experts are now worried it may have opened up door for imposters to sell pills, calling it the miracle pill in the market. And understandably, families which are treating and going through cancer treatment right now in a desperate moment might sort of fall for this. Now, this story has also taken research, has taken deep dive reporting. This deep dive reporting has been done by Himani Chanda. Please check out her full story in detail on cnnnews18.com. And for now, let's understand this a little better with our next guest, Dr. Prashant Mehta. Dr. Prashant Mehta is an oncologist. In fact, he's a clinical researcher whose research focuses on cell therapy and leukemia and is using a modified immune cell system to kill cancer. So nobody better than him really understands how this drug is going to work and what this drug is going to do to patients. So good morning, Doc. Thank you so much for joining us here on TBC. My first question really, we're not being a buzzkill right this Monday morning. We're not trying to tell people that don't take this drug, it's a fad. We're just saying, just hold on to see the real benefits, if at all, that they come from this. Can you explain to our viewers what is the difference between testing the drug on mice versus testing the drug on actual humans?
So, a very good morning, and thank you for having me here for clarifying this concern, which has it is front of all of the researchers and clinicians right now who are treating cancer or dealing with cancer, and the patients also. So this is a compound which is composed of two substances: resveratrol, which is naturally found in some plants and some berries and grapes, and it is released in response to some pathogens in the plants, and it is it can be consumed. It is consumed in food. Copper also is a trace element. It's a new micronutrient, and it is required for some natural body functions. It's a catalyst. But in this particular research, which was led by Dr. Indranil Mitra, who is part of Tata Memorial Hospital, he's a researcher there and a senior researcher, and he has done a lot of preliminary research first in the lab, and then he did it in mice, and he hypothesized, and he and his team hypothesized that this particular combination is actually able to prevent some particles, the genetic particles, genetic material, fragments of genetic material, which he calls the cell-free chromatin particles. It prevents the release of these particles into the bloodstream, and it prevents inflammation, because these particles can bind to the normal cells, causing inflammation and cause genetic changes there. And also it works on the immune checkpoints, and it can actually reduce the efficacy of treatment and cause metastasis to happen, which means that the cancer can spread. So this is all a hypothesis, and he has tested this hypothesis in the lab, and he has very preliminary evidence that this hypothesis may actually be true. So it's very preliminary research in conducted in animals, and there is no proof right now in humans it does the same. And as you rightly pointed out, that such research uh, seldom translates into humans, and it's only probably a less than 10% chance that it would do the same in humans. And in the field of nutraceuticals, maybe even a lesser chance. It is going to be a very tough thing to prove in humans, and it will require randomized studies. As you said, that a drug controller is very stringent, and as stringent as the US FDA, and
Yeah.
they all the studies, like from phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 means randomized studies in large number of patients, where it actually proves conclusively statistically that these pills and this treatment can actually lower the incidence of metastasis or lower toxicity in humans. So it is a very tough thing to do for any researcher.
So
And yes,
Doc, can you make this reference point for us? I'm just trying to understand. It's coming from a very reputed hospital. Tata Memorial is perhaps the best name we know in the industry when it comes to cancer treatment. They're doing some brilliant work, public healthcare and infrastructure, which is a need of the hour, which is how India will survive, fight cancer. Country like ours will get out of disease, and people at the lowest end of strata will get. They're doing some phenomenal work. We don't need to highlight that. I'm just then wondering, why are they processing this or wanting to get this out as a nutraceutical and not as a pharmaceutical? What could be the thinking behind that?
So my understanding is first thing, Tata Memorial is a great institute, and the people who work there and who are doing research there are all amazing. And in fact, I also have few collaborators from Tata Memorial where who are helping us also. So it is actually a great institute and doing great work. And this
Hmm.
instance, maybe so when researchers have a finding in the lab or in the animals, we all get excited and we all discuss it within our peer group in academic discussions. And in this particular instance, it may have been a press release, or may have been a release which was preliminary. They must be wanting to just tell that, hey, we have found something in the lab and it looks exciting and promising. But I don't think any researcher or anybody would have imagined that it would come to this, and it would take such humongous proportions and may become
Are
hyped.
you suggesting
So
the media picked
priorities are
up this
there.
story wrongly? Is that what you're
No,
suggesting?
no, I'm not saying that. Media is also well-meaning. They also want to, send good information out to the public. But whenever something gets hyped or something which is not so correct happens, it is not that people are responsible or somebody is responsible. It can just happen.
Hmm.
We should not be putting blame on anybody for this. It is something which has happened, and it may have caused harm, may can cause harm. But what we need to do now is, as researchers and even Tata Memorial doctors have brought out a clarification letter, and they have done rightly so, and they have written clearly that there is no
In
proof
fact,
that it
talking
works.
about the clarification letter, I have that in my hand right now, and we have those pictures as well. I just want to draw everybody's attention to the last paragraph that has come. This is signed by Dr. Pankaj Chaturvedi, MS, Deputy Director, Center of Cancer Epidemiology at Tata Memorial Center in Mumbai. The last line says, this was released on the 1st of March, by the way. This is after the story blew up online and everywhere, and everybody picked it up. And the last paragraph of this letter says, additional human studies with larger sample sizes are required and are underway to find out whether these findings apply to human patients or not. It should be noted that this resveratrol plus copper including its tablet formulation, is not a substitute for established cancer treatment like surgery, radiotherapy, chemotherapy, hormone therapy and targeted therapy, which has been conclusively proven to provide benefits and result in cures in substantial proportion for patients. It is further clarified that the effectiveness of copper plus resveratrol, I hope I'm getting that word right, including its tablet formulation, in reducing treatment toxicity or increasing cures in cancer patients remains to be established and is currently under investigation. We hope the
Yeah.
statement will be considered by all relevant stakeholders in a balanced manner and will clarify any questions that may have arisen as a result of the recent media reports. So there were so many questions. People wrote to us also, a lot of discussion even within our newsroom saying, why are we not picking up this story? But we from the very beginning figured out on TBC that there was something about it. The doctors were just not seeming as confident. And I'm glad we've picked up this story, and I'm actually quite glad on the transparency of Tata as well. They came out with a statement right after media blew up the story, right after the headlines came out, and they said, boss, hang on. There's more to this, and there is, like we said in our explainer, 5 to 6 year window. And then, like you had said, it's a nutraceutical. The only clearance required for a nutraceutical by FSSAI is that it should not harm. There is no test that says that this will benefit. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, I think you are getting it correct. Yeah. It's a much softer regulatory body. It is for food. It is for normal food actually.
Right.
It
All right, Doc,
ensures
thanks
it's
so much. Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, I'm sorry to cut you short. I'm sorry
No
to cut you
problem.
short. Wish we had gone over, but we have so much more to pack up this Monday morning that I'm going to quickly sort of deep dive into the next story. Thanks so much for joining us, and thanks so much for giving us that clarification.